as the second speaker of Tabletop with my Fairweather Toastmasters.
Good afternoon, Fairweather Toastmasters, and any guests that we have. My talk today is going to be on perception, and I'm going to tell you two stories about two different angles of perception. The first story is about an experience when I was in elementary school. I used to like to watch this show called Wild World Kingdom. Anybody remember that show?
Yeah.
It used to come on Sundays, and it was about animals from different parts of the world. I was addicted to that show. Every Sunday at 4 o'clock, I was right there, right in front of the TV watching it. And so one day they had a show on snakes. Snakes aren't my thing, you know, I'm not really too crazy about snakes, but for some reason I just sat there and I said, okay, and you know, they were showing all these different types of snakes, and then they showed a cobra, and it was, you know, kind of scary, but I was just hooked. I couldn't stop. I just had to watch, and so it ended, and I said, okay, that was over, and I went about my business. That year, it was the Olympic year, and you know, the whole family used to watch, you know, races and all that. So the Olympics was going on that time when I saw that particular snake show, and so, you know, I thought it was over. I went to bed, and I was in my room, and my little sister, who was around 4, slept in the next bed. Well, that night she decided to jump into my bed because, you know, she wanted to sleep with me, and just she loved to talk. So around 8 o'clock, I told her, you know, I'm going to sleep, so you can stop talking. And she says, oh no, your other ear is still up, so you can hear me even though you're asleep. That's the mind of a 4-year-old. So I went to sleep, and she went to sleep eventually. And sometime during the night, I woke up, and I was just repositioning myself, and she was still in the bed. And I turned, and I saw her hand, and it did this. And in my mind, I thought about that show, and I said, oh my God, there's a cobra in my head. And it went down. I said, it's going to get me. So I jumped up, and I ran as fast as I could, yelling, Mommy, Daddy, Mommy, Daddy. And, you know, I ran into the room. She ran right after me. You know, she was yelling too. She didn't know what was going on, but something was going on because Big Sister was yelling. And so I get in there, and they said, what's wrong? I said, I think there's a snake in my bed. And my dad said, why? I said, I don't know, but I saw something. I think there's a snake in there. He said, let's go check it out. So we went in there, and they checked it out. They said, there's nothing in there. It's okay. So I jumped into bed with my mom and dad, and the next morning, my dad gets up in the morning, makes breakfast, and then he looks at me, and he starts laughing. And I said, why are you laughing? He said, your nickname now is Olympic Runner. And he said, you ran down that hallway so fast, and we wondered what was going on. He said, did something happen yesterday? And I said, well, maybe. I watched this show, and he said it was about snakes, wasn't it? I said, well, how'd you know? He said, well, you were complaining there was a snake in your bed last night. And so that was my perception. I watched something, and I perceived something. I saw a hand, and I thought it was a snake. Everybody perceives something in a different way. My second story is about my mother. She decided to take classes at a community college, and she signed up for a speech class. And one day she decided to stay after class and talk to her professor. And they started talking about personal things, and he was saying, you know, I'm a college professor. I teach here at AR, and I also teach at American River, and I also teach at Davis, and I have a family. And he was just talking about how it was hard for him financially. And she said, well, maybe it's your perception. And he said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, have you thought of other ways to expand your speaking? You are a speech professor. There's lots of other avenues where you can speak. And so he said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, you can talk to go to offices and talk to their presenters on how to better present their speeches. You can go on vacation and, on cruises and talk to people about making speeches and presentations. So she changed his perception. He was thinking one way, that he only had to do things one way. And she talked to him and changed his perspective on how he could expand on his abilities and his skills. So that's my talk today. Perception is very interesting. Everybody sees things, can see things one way, and and somebody can talk to you and let you know how you can perceive something in other ways. And so that's my speech today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.